What's going on, everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Cheers to those of you that have your beers. I hope you're enjoying your work week. We are over hump day, getting ready to step on into Tay Thursday, right? And you know what that means? One more day till it's TGIF, right? So let's get it going, man. Cheers to those of you that have your beers. We're going to talk about some MATCO tools. We're going to talk about some SnapOn tools. And we're going to talk about some other things that is in my opinion. And then I'd like for you guys to share your opinions if you have any of these products or what you think about my opinion. Some people don't care for my opinion, and that's okay. But we appreciate those that do. So if you like today's video, make sure to smash the thumbs up. And hey, while you're at it, be a bud, grab some suds, and tap on that little beer mug in the bottom right-hand corner, because we'd appreciate your subscription. And you can hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified when I do my next tool review, my next mechanical insight video, my next how-to video, or you simply just want to hang out with us on TGIF. We have lots of great people that come onto the panel. Nuts and Bolts with Tom, we've had Brian from How To Automotive, we've had Nathan Polly from Polly's Auto, I mean, we've had Power Stroke Jew, we've had Ed the Old Tech Guy, I think we've even had Dale Lucid on at one point in time, we've had Jehu, I mean, the list goes on and on and on, Princess Jamie, I mean, you name it, they've been on the channel, and it's been a super awesome hangout on TGIF. So you guys should check all of them out and subscribe for sure, because you just never know whose channel I'm going to be on any given day. That being said, I am getting a lot of Chrysler training done, and I might do a couple of training courses this evening, but today we're talking about MATCO tools and SnapOn tools. More specifically, the new catalog that just came out from MATCO tools. Really, when you open the page up, orange, green, these tools, everything on this page, I can recommend without a shadow of a doubt. They are phenomenal tools. Okay? They're screwdrivers. They're screwdrivers. I've had these things for years. I can't even count how many years I've had them. They are one of the most smallest, best gripped mini screwdrivers that you can ever get your hands on. And the rest of them hold up very well too. And I love the grips on them. They work out well for me in the automotive industry. I currently am now using a Snap-on set at work, the MATCO ones I have here, and I did give a set of MATCO screwdrivers to Judo Sailor, so he's using them in the DIY realm, and they're some of his favorite screwdrivers from my understanding. The 88 tooth locking flex head MATCO, okay, teardrop design handle with comfort grip. Extremely fine ratchet. A lot of people don't like this, to include Autobahn Dan. It's not his most favorite ratchet. He swears that they slip teeth. Honestly, I have had to re-gear my ratchets as an everyday used ratchet, I'd say at least once per year. But so far, I have not had to warranty out any of the gears since I bought my last MATCO ratchet, which was maybe almost 2 years ago. And I recently have bought a newer one, which is the blue on black with the black shaft finish. The 1/4 inch one still has not come in just yet, so we look forward to that. One of my new lube upcoming technicians has been loving the Comfort Grip 90 tooth gear wrench locking flex heads that we gave to him. And I think for a mid-range tool, that is a phenomenal ratchet overall, okay? I would put it somewhere right in the same ballpark as the Icon ones. I know that Icon does not sell a locking flex head, but their flex heads are really good, and I thoroughly enjoy the comfort grip on them. Okay, I haven't had any issues when it comes to teeth slipping. The only issue I've ran into with both products has been the little tiny pin for where the flex portion is, sometimes backs itself off on both those. So all you gotta do is put a little bit of blue Loctite on there, run it back in, you're good to go, even if you have to borrow the Allen from somebody else to make it happen, right? The next promo product from the catalog that they share here is they have the extraction combination wrenches, okay? These extraction combination wrenches I do have, but they are a buy once, cry once. They sit in your box and you do not grab these as a go-to, okay? These are in case things happen. Things that happen that you don't want them to happen. I don't use them often, and right now I do not have the room for them until at least I get my new hutch or an extendable cabinet to go on the side. I've got way too many wrenches as it is. But these things have helped get me out of a pinch a few times. Can't even say a half a dozen, a few times within the last 12 months of ownership. And it's only because of the amount of bite that they have on the box end, and the open end was made very, very strong. Okay, I haven't had them splay out at all. And when I had one that was rounded, I was able to only get the open end on. These ones worked where other regular combinations would not. So I gotta give them 2 thumbs up on the extraction wrenches. Yes, there is a comparable brand, and I'll put the Amazon affiliate link down below in the description for you to this particular product, as well as some screwdrivers and ratchets that I think that you guys will like that do not cost you professional tool truck prices. Okay, I will put those down below in the description for you. Moving on to the 1/2-inch impact. Okay, this is a pneumatical impact. I have the same exact one in the green with the black. This thing is beast. Now a lot of people say, man, what about cordless, right? Cordless, that's where it's all going to. You don't need air. Oh, I'm sorry. You do need air. And cordless, though it is nice to have because you don't have to drag cord. You can walk forever and a mile out in the desert and bust off lug nuts if you need to. Is not the be-all, end-all because you are losing RPM. And for that, I will tell you that this is not only very powerful, in fact, I believe more powerful than any cordless, but it has the RPM to break things away. So if you were to buy an air pneumatic, I would strongly suggest a 1/2-inch and a 3/8 drive. Why 3/8 drive? Sway bar links. That is probably the #1 thing that you are going to use that 3/8 drive for, as well as tie rod ends. Okay, outer tie rod end nuts, sway bar links. You're going to have control arms and things like that that might be a little bit stubborn. Ball joints. Look, there are going to be situations that you are going to want some kind of fast RPM gun. Okay, like I said, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, but sometimes fast is fast, and that's what you want. The pliers. I can't argue with any of these pliers. I have a couple of onesies, twosies in their MATCO pliers set. I thoroughly enjoy them. I do have some ADV impact sockets. I have not had any issues with them. I have not had any issues with the universal joints. I cannot say the same exact thing about other brands, okay? The Sunex 12.12 millimeter drive shaft 3/8 drive socket, which we talked about, did fail on me, but it still works, okay? I have bought since then a Snap-on version, and I have not used it yet. I will let you know if the same issue occurs after the first or second time of using it, as that's all it seemed to take for the Sunex one, or yeah, the Sunex one to fail. Okay, so food for thought. The long reach, okay, this is the 1/4-inch extendable ratchet or long reach ratchet. Now I will tell you that Tommy, again, if you didn't see this video, Tommy did not have the best of luck with his 3/8 drive long reach. So I went with a 3/8 drive Snap-on Brute long reach, and I've had no issues. It has been my go-to. And because sometimes I work on my own stuff here at the house, or some random person from the auto parts store ends up following me home for me to bang out a quick job because he's in passing, I keep my regular Snap-on Brute 3/8 drive here at the house, and currently my Bluetooth speaker is at work because the guys like the music that I play. Alright, let's move on through this catalog. Buffers, no thank you. Hammers, yeah. Okay, so you know what? I will tell you this, I do have a couple of MATCO hammers. I do believe they are rebranded by Trusty-Cook. I'll throw their link down in the description for you, but I will tell you I did like the double flat-sided dead blows. That's my thing. For what it is that I do as an automotive mechanic, I thoroughly enjoy having a smaller and a bigger flat side to smack with. I did pick up the Snap-on ball peen dead blow. I had not found room for it at work. I bought this more or less for the house because there are certain things that I wish I had a dead blow for and not just a regular little teeny tiny ball peen. So I decided to go that route. That was my call. The power steering pulley pump installer and removal tool set. This is the master set, so it's an upgraded version from the one that I have. But the one that I have is also through MATCO, is phenomenal. I would tell you that once a year there is at least one piece that I have to change out. Other than that, it has been nothing shy of awesome. Now they do have a new diagnostic scan tool here, which is the Maximus 3.0. Now I did have a shop foreman who used to have the Maximus, the original one that they first came out with, and he was not 100% impressed with it. He liked it for what it was, but overall, I think he would have rather have gone Snap-on, if you catch my drift. And by the way, brother, if you're watching, thank you for putting in the good word. I appreciate it. I have been thoroughly loving my time being back at the dealer. It's like I never left. Wish you were here. All right, another item here that you are going to find crucial is going to be the Ratcheting dual head hose clamp pliers. Now this is for compressional style radiator hose clamps. Okay, yep, right there. I have a set of these. They are awesome. Heater hoses that have the compressional hose style clamps that are upside down that you can't get pliers on. That's when you're going to use this kind of stuff. Same thing with radiator hoses that oftentimes get twisted up and to the side. Okay, 6-piece extra long 0-degree offset wrench set. This is a dual box end wrench set, 302. That's pretty comparable to what Snap-on charges. I will tell you that I do have the Snap-on ones, and they do come in handy. Now, on Chrysler products, when you're pulling transmissions, there are subframes on the JKs and the JLs where you have to get in between very, very thin area, and these are the only ones that I found that work on those cross member nuts, okay? Another thing is going to be torque converter bolts. Torque converter bolts on transmissions for Chrysler products. These things are going to come in handy because they have just enough of a step to be able to break the torque converter bolt loose, but it's not so big or so thick or so awkward that you end up rounding the edge, because you don't need an angle. If you get an angle, it tends to want to barrel off. It doesn't really grab. They're on there. They are on there. There's some pretty dang good Loctite on those things. Last but not least, on the front and the back, okay? The front, we have these Super Pro non-slip impact sockets. It's more of a spline drive. They have them in 3/8 and 1/4 inch. I have the 1/4 inch set. For rounded fasteners, these things are phenomenal. I didn't know how I was able to live without them. My first experience was when I used Shane's. They were absolutely phenomenal. I bought myself the 1/4 inch set almost immediately because 1/4 inch seemed to be the fasteners that I ran into the most that were rounded off. Okay, now the back side here, you have a magnetic socket extension set for $121.95. For a pro use, I think that is a phenomenal deal. There are probably some other brands that you could possibly go with that might even be on the Amazing Zons, and I'll throw them down in the description for you guys as well. But here is my thought process behind magnetic sockets versus the old school rubber style sockets. Those rubber things are a nightmare. Even Brian 916 even stated in his toolbox tour that he did not like the rubber style, because he was absolutely right. When those rubbers fall off onto the plug and you didn't get the plug all the way out, or you're trying to install it and they get stuck down in there, next thing you know, you're spending a good 5 to 10, maybe even 15 minutes trying to dig that little thing out with your pick. Then you're having to put RV on it, but you still have 7 other plugs to put back in. Those things suck, okay? The magnetic ones are great because you don't have to worry about that rubber falling off there anymore. Now it's just magnetizes to the actual spark plug. You dive it in safely, you pull it out safely. You never have to worry about that rubber grommet ever again. So for that, I say, if your only option is to get a magnetic set and it's going to cost you a little bit more, look, these things are beneficial to have, and they already have a built-in universal extension, which can also come in handy, especially considering that it isn't a separate piece. It's a one piece. So if you really got to pull on it, you're pulling the socket with it. No more just pulling the universal joint out and having to fish it back down and stab your hook back in to pull it out. What a nightmare, okay? These things are going to be your best friend because the extension's already built on them. You can pull them as hard as you want. All right, moving on with the rest of our topic. Let's talk multimeters for a second. My brand new multimeter from Snap-on did come in today. Special thanks for Garrett for overnighting it, since they failed to send it to him for 3 weeks. It is the Echo Delta Mike 596 Foxtrot. This is the latest, the greatest, the top tier of the line multimeters that Snap-on currently sells. You might be asking yourself, why did I decide to go with this when I already have a multimeter with true RMS that can cover hybrids? Why did I do that when I already had a previous Snap-on multimeter that can also handle true RMS and hybrids? and more specifically with the MATCO amp clamp that is also a hybrid multimeter, but it's also an amp clamp that I use for parasitic draw testing. Why? Why, oh why did he go with this? And furthermore, he has the Zeus. All right, so the biggest question you're probably asking yourself is, why does he have one of these when he already has a SnapOn Zeus? Let's talk about it. All right, now you heard me jibba jabba for a little bit. Let's check this thing out. So right now, I've got it connected to cylinder number 1. I'm gonna show you guys how to hook it up, what we're looking for, and how it's gonna be beneficial for us when we're having to test multiple things. Let's take a look. All right, so right now we have the new multimeter from SnapOn hooked up. You see I got our little blue Napa fuel light here pointed at cylinder number 1, which is where I have our inductive amp clamp hooked up to. They do make a dummy proof for you, so just in case you forgot, you are going to want the one side of the comm side to be spark plug side pointed. So it's written there, not on the other side, so you can't just flip it any old way. So we will put it on like it tells us to. And what we're looking for right now is we want to try to match the RPM with what's going through that specific plug wire or cylinder number 1 with the RPM on our instrument cluster. So let's check that out. All right, let's fire this thing on up. All right, so our current RPM, obviously on startup, usually goes just about a little bit above 1,000 RPM, and then kind of settles anywhere between, I would say 750, 800, maybe even 900 RPM. Let's go take a look at our multimeter with our RPM hookup on it. All right, so you can see we're pretty close, okay? A little bit of a drop there. Wondering if we might be due for plug wires. See, I did have a multi-cylinder misfire not too long ago, but it has not since yet come back, and I have not checked misfire monitors. But how interesting is it to see it at pretty consistently being about 630 and then randomly dips down to about 300 for cylinder number 1. Now we did just do a tune-up on this thing not even a year ago, so I'm wondering if we're due for a possible coil or a possible plug wire. So we're gonna move it now from cylinder number 1, and we're gonna go back here to cylinder number 3 and see what this does. Seems to stay pretty consistent. Not really sure why it's beeping at us. Let's move back to the next one now. Let's go here to number 5. Oh, we turned off. Why did we turn off? Either the battery came to me pretty low, or it just didn't seem to like whatever I was doing. All right, so we're pretty consistent. It looks like on number 5 as well. Let's go back here to 7. Try not to have it on the exhaust. Come on, baby. I'll try to hold it up out of the way. All right, pretty consistent there too. Man, there are several reasons why, and they are my own reasons, okay? But I'll break it down for you in a nutshell. The amp clamp MATCO multimeter style that I have is phenomenal when it comes to parasitic draw testing. If you just want to throw a clamp on it and watch what happens as you're doing it, instead of having to put leads here and there and figure out how to make them stick. My least favorite part of that whole entire multimeter is the way the test leads and the little clamps don't stay on. They don't stay on at all. Least favorite part, test lead. Most favorite part, the clamping side. Okay, so I love the clamping capability of just throwing it on there, getting my amperage measurement, and watching it go down as I'm pulling fuses. That's one. The other meter that I have, which is the Klein, this was supposed to be for at-home use only because sometimes I needed a multimeter here at the house, and I have thoroughly enjoyed and loved using this. I did, however, somehow mysteriously lose my little alligator clamps, okay? I'm sure I can buy another set of those alligator clamps or do a little bit more research here in the garage and try to find them, but I am without alligator clamps. So I still use this, okay? I'm still doing continuity tests, things like that. But I am going to be giving this away to one of our newer technicians over at the Chrysler dealership who just became a new level up tech. I think he can use it, but I want to make sure I get those little alligator clips that go to it before I give it to him. But at any rate, I know that he can use it. I have another one here at the house, which I already showed you guys, which is my SnapOn, which does take the 9-volt battery. And I did buy this one off eBay, I think, for about 100, 150 bucks. Phenomenal deal that I got for on eBay, but it's dead. Okay, I gotta put a new 9-volt in it. Not a big deal, but this will be my new at-home DVOM. The Klein one I'm planning on giving up to one of our newer upcoming techs. And this one more specifically I got because it's a multi-purpose tool, man. This thing is the Swiss Army knife of multimeters. Okay, so outside of being able to do your DC volts or DC amps, it's got hertz, it's got ohms, it's got temperature, you got frequency, you got milliamps, you got air amps, you got your diode testing, and your RPM pickup, and it is rated for hybrid. It does have a low pass filter, so if you have other things kind of going on that are being, let's say that they have too much static going on from communicating with each other module wise, you can use this low pass filter, should smooth everything out before you're down in there and you start doing your testing. One of the more helpful benefits that I bought this meter for that I thought was really awesome was the RPM pickup. So I can watch the RPM using an inductive clamp with this meter whilst I have my scope hooked up to something else. So if I want to see multiple things going on, I can have the inductive amp clamp hooked around a plug wire. I can have my scope hooked up to the ignition coil that I can gain access to, plus its amp clamp to the negative battery, so that way I can do a relative compression test if I want to do two things at once. If I want to check for RPM, if I want to check for my spark, and if there's any indifference between cylinders, so I can do two tests at once. Another one is going to be like, for instance, I was using the amp clamp to check for a parasitic draw, but I also needed to check continuity between the PCM side and the sensor side, and I was trying to do a crankshaft position to camshaft position sensor signature test to see if all my parameters were there. So there were multiple cases that I was always having to flip-flop leads on and check out. This can become quite a chore, especially if you are trying to do multiple tests at the same exact time and see what happens to the other, right? So if I'm doing a voltage drop test on one component and I'm trying to check continuity on the other, or I'm trying to do a parasitic draw test, I can do other tests while watching parasitic drain as well to get more confirmation out of it. From what I can tell, most of the diagnosticians that I have seen on YouTube really only have a couple of meters, and maybe they have a diagnostic scan tool, but you always see them using different things at different times, right? Or they might have a meter hooked up, they're using a test light. Or they might have a test light and a meter hooked up, they might be using their scope. Or they might be using them all in conjunction with one another. There's multiple things that you have to do at the same exact time when you're diagnostically testing. I am just starting to figure all this out. So it is extremely beneficial for me to have multiple tools. I was using my scan tool earlier today to diagnose a cooling issue, okay? Because I was bouncing back and forth between 1/2 and 3/4, and I suspected there to be an air pocket because of how the air was blowing. When I got to 3/4 with it on full heat, it was blowing out hot. But when it got down to about the halfway point, which only took a few seconds in between, it was about a 5 to 10 second window when it did this, when it came to its halfway point, it almost went to like an ambient vented air. So I suspected an air pocket, so what I had done was watching scan data. I had scan data up to monitor what the PCM was reading and what changes that were happening with the electronic coolant temp sensor. And then I had my MATCO multimeter with the temperature gauge dropped into my coolant spill-free funnel jug to test the temperature there, watching it rise and drop as I was also monitoring the gauge on the instrument cluster. You see, multiple things happening at the same exact time. So I know it seems a little bit weird that somebody has so many different things. This is part of the job, man. As far as I can tell, this is part of what it was that I wanted to get into. I'm getting into it, and I'm having a great time with it. But yes, there were certain things that I was looking for, and this just so happened to have certain things that I thought was more beneficial than just getting another DVOM. All right, guys, so now you can see there is possibly a potential bad coil or a bad plug wire for my cylinder number 1. Now, the code has not come back in over 2 weeks, and I have not checked to see if it's been misfiring since, but I did have a multi-cylinder misfire at one point. It just did not tell me what cylinder it had happened on. So right now, what I'm looking at is a fluctuation in RPM from that wire. Now, I don't know if that's going to be an issue with the wire, the coil, or the plug. So we got some testing to do, but right now, it's an intermittent issue, right? It doesn't feel like it's currently misfiring, and I have no active mill lamp. So the only thing I can do now is check misfire monitors to see if it's there. And if it's not there, the only thing that I can speculate on at this point is that there's something with that cylinder, so I will watch it closely as time progresses. But for right now, that's all I got for this video, guys. Look, I hope you enjoyed today's content. Cheers to those of you that have your beers, and we'll see you next time. Deuces.